Yo, Dragon, today we're joined by Andy Storch from My NFT Journey Podcast. What do you say we get into a great episode here today?
I'm psyched, man. I'm psyched to learn about VeeCon and talk Veefriends and just meet another amazing individual.
Let's go. Let's make it simple. NFTs are changing the world, and change can feel complicated and scary. But listen, you don't need a computer science degree. You don't need to learn how to code. You just need practical skills to win.
If you are here, you are in the 1% of humans that are preparing for this major cultural shift. We're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. We're going to make it practical. Welcome to NFTs Made Simple.
Just a reminder, we're not financial advisors. This is not financial advice, and you should do your own research.
Hey, let's get into it.
So Andy, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on. Mark, the Dragon, this is exciting. Always love having these conversations. Like you said, talking NFTs, Veefriends, VeeCon, some of my favorite subjects, even when things are not necessarily going so well across the marketplace right now, but still a fun conversation.
Yeah, I know that you are, because I've been listening to your show. I know that we're long-term. We're not just in this for the next, 30 minutes. We're like, we're in the NFT game because of what the transformation can look like. So I guess I want to kind of start here at the beginning, Andy, of your NFT journey. What was it that made you excited about NFTs, and what was the first NFT that you bought?
Yeah, so for me, and I think you might know a little bit about it, a friend got me my wife and I into cryptocurrency in like January 2021. And so we started buying a little bit of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then I've been following Gary Vee for many years. And so I was listening to his podcast every day, and he started talking about NFTs. And I saw a little bit in the news here and there. So I started looking it up and was following everything he was talking about, was just trying to understand what the heck is this thing? It's like, for me, it was like a new investment or asset class that I was trying to figure out along with my friend Bennett at the time. We were both kind of researching it. It really took me a long time to really grasp it and understand it. But, Gary seemed excited about it. He's always on the forefront of, the latest technologies and social media and everything that's going on. So I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And then when he announced in, I think, April 2021 that he was going to be launching his own NFT collection and we needed to have some ETH ready, I happened to have already been buying some Ethereum, earlier that year. So I was ready to go when he launched Veefriends. I think it officially launched on May 12th, 2021. And I bought 5 of them at the Dutch auction that he had. So those were my first NFTs that my wife was on board with me. First NFTs that we bought were those Veefriends. And then right along that time, my best friend Bennett was also getting into it, and he was researching and getting into a project called Zed Run, which is like a digital horse racing game. And so he bought some of those. I convinced him to buy a Veefriend, and then I got into some of the horses with him. We didn't stay in that project too long, but that was kind of the next thing that we did.
Just so you know, Andy, when you bought those 5 Veefriends, I was home saying, I'm not fucking buying those things. and that was my first mistake.
Yeah, I mean, we've all made plenty of mistakes, right? And I've talked to many people that were like, I don't get it. Or when it was supposed to launch on May 5th and then he delayed it. I talked to many people who were like, I'm out now. And I didn't care. Like, I'm such a super fan of his that I was like, if he's going to do something, I'm going to invest in it. And, this seems like the right thing to do. So let's see. I mean, I'm mad at myself that I didn't go more. We had a little bit more that we could have invested. And I believe so much in him, but it still felt so crazy at the time. We put, I think, $40,000 into some doodles that Gary Vee drew and a promise that we were going to at least get to go to a conference that he was creating for 3 years. Other than that, no idea what was going to come from it.
That's ballsy. That was a ballsy move back then. But, it's the ballsy ones that end up on the top of the mountain.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going to happen. But, I'm with you, Andy. If there's one project that I really feel like I can put faith in, it's the Veefriends project. Because, Gary maybe I'm just drinking the Kool-Aid here, but I just don't see Gary selling out his personal brand, his businesses. I feel like that is to him the most important thing.
Yeah, integrity. I mean, he's said many, many times, like this is the number one thing for him that he's going to be running for the next 40 years. He's his reputation is on the line. He's not going to let it fail. Obviously, anything can happen, but we know he has great experience as an operator, great connections, big plans. He's not a short-term thinker. So that's one that I'm like happy to hold for the long term. And, there may be ups and downs. There will be, of course, but I really feel confident that he's going to be a winner in this NFT game.
He's saying the stage. Are you a Veefriends Series 2 holder?
Yes, I have, I think 6 Series 1 and like 15 Series 2 or something like that.
Makes me feel like a sissy.
Yeah, definitely going all in. I mean, so, when I think about Series 2, and which was the first, big NFT project that I got in on personally, right? So we get in at about, I think it was like 1.1 ETH for the aftermarket buy, post mint, but no reveal. And so we didn't know what we were going to get, right? As soon as they reveal, I get a dope dodo, which, it's a dope dodo, pretty cool. All of a sudden, I'm still getting offers of people willing to pay me about half of what I paid for it.
Yeah.
But part of the challenge with Veefriends Series 2 is we have no idea what the future holds for us as holders. Gary hasn't announced like, if you own a Veefriends Series 2, you get access to an event like you do with Series 1. Do you have it? What do you think? What do you think, Andy? What does the future hold for Series 2 holders?
I'm not really sure. And I think Gary has been very clear that it does not come with any utility other than if you minted them, you got the trading cards that came out with them. And I'm still waiting on those to come in the mail for me because I minted quite a few of them. But I think he's been pretty clear that nothing necessarily comes with it. He is so into collectibles, which before this NFT craze, I was never really much into collectibles, but I'm kind of getting into that, at least from an NFT perspective. I think he sees them as more a collectible representing this big brand that he's going to be building, or he thinks he's going to be building, right? Getting these characters onto shows and movies and into lunchboxes and all that sort of stuff. And that will be primarily where the value will come. However, he always has surprises up his sleeve. I know he's got big plans for the next 5, 10, 20 years, and who knows what he might do. All I can say is that, at the end of VeeCon, in his closing keynote, he addressed a couple questions, and then he mentioned the Series 2, and he just said that, for at least for the next 2 years, VeeCon will only be for Series 1 holders, or anybody who buys a VeeCon ticket, of course, and that he was dedicated to, building out the brand and always, helping those who own Veefriends. And he said, specifically those who have Series 2, like, I'm dedicated to building that out for the next 40 years. Like, I got you kind of thing. So I don't think it was just some like, Gary, like people can accuse him of cash grab or whatever, like, because there were 55,000 of them, right? I forget what the number was, but he probably made, $40 million off of that or something like that, which he's investing a lot of that back into the brand. But I know he didn't do that just to, make a quick buck. Obviously, he's investing long-term. And I think he sees them as part of this long-term vision of this Veefriends brand that he's building. And then they'll have value based on that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, like it's all based on perception, right? Like the market, it determines value based on what do people think things are worth and where do they think things are going. So, and I have no idea what's going to come. Yeah.
That kind of brings me to why I invested in it. And for me, it wasn't a cash grab. I did want to be involved in it because I saw it was an exciting time, but I just believe in it. I just believe in NFTs in general. And, that's one of the things we talk about a lot on the show is just the concept. I'm more than I'm excited about a project. I'm excited about the movement. And when I buy an NFT, I buy an NFT from, I like to invest in a project that I think represents the big picture of it. And that's to what you were saying. That's Gary.
Yeah. To your point, Dragon, I think there's a lot of things coming that we just can't even comprehend or really see yet. And I just thought of an example of some utility that just came out of nowhere from Series 2. So a couple months back, I don't know, slid under the radar for some people, but Gary Vee also bought a professional pickleball team or major league pickleball team. And there's an event coming up in the next few days here in Austin, Texas, the Major League Pickleball League or Championship. I don't know what it is. I actually play a little pickleball, but I don't really follow the pros. Anyway, they announced in the Veefriends Discord, and I think on Twitter, that if you have a competitive clown, which is a new Series 2 character, or a Veefriends character with a pickleball court in the background, then you get access to some special area at the pickleball tournament in Austin. You just needed to go RSVP. I think the deadline was 2 nights ago. And I actually have 2 of those. I have a competitive clown and I have one of my evolved characters, an intuitive iguana, is on the pickleball court. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I can't make it to Austin, but maybe there'll be something like that in the future. So there's already kind of new utility that, you know, nobody maybe could have foreseen. And there's going to be so many things like that that he's going to do.
A genius, dude. You know what? This is how far ahead Gary is. He's just like totally in our brains with a fucking katana sword. I mean, what Gary's doing right now is he's saying, hey, by the way, the next time you buy one of my NFTs, because of course you will, consider the background, consider the message.
Oh yeah, he said backgrounds matter, right? And I'm just thinking right now, some of them I think have a football field. What if he buys the Jets one day?
Totally, dude. That's what I was just thinking. And it's like, or even if there's a word in the background or something like that, what we're recognizing is, and this is what's exciting about NFTs, is the unknown. But you look at a guy like Gary that's investing 40 years of his life into this thing. He's thought of those things and he just refrained from telling us, but he's unveiling it as we go. Yep. And once again, not only, I mean, you might not want to go to the professional pickleball tournament, but it's just a way of edifying that you're in the right place. You know, you feel special, and he's just a master at that.
Hey, what's up? Mark here. Just want to take you on a quick break with a resource I think is really going to help you. Some of the concepts that we're covering in the show sound really complicated and really technical. But listen, you don't need to code. You don't need to get a master's degree in computer science. All you need to do is have the right resources. We're going to make it simple. We're going to make it easy. I've got a link below. Go to www.nftsmadesimple.com. That's nftsmadesimple.com. You're going to get a free cheat sheet there. It's 100% free. What are you waiting for? Go get the cheat sheet. We're going to break down some of the key definitions in ways that are really practical and really simple. Go to nftsmadesimple.com right now to get your free cheat sheet. That's nftsmadesimple.com. All right, let's get back into the show.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What was it like? Because, you know, Mark and I were like, yeah, we should go to VeeCon, and we didn't. So what was it like to walk in there? Because, I mean, this was a different kind of an event. You know, I mean, we just saw the highlights and stuff like that. Yeah. But just give us a little bit of an experiential, you know, visual. What was it like to walk in there, and was it a unique event?
Yeah, you guys should have gone because the tickets were ridiculously cheap leading up to the event. I think they were like 0.2 ETH or something right before. But, you know, and for context, I have been going to conferences and even running workshops and events for more than 10 years. I have a lot of experience going to conferences. And this was like nothing I've ever been to. It really was unique in that, you know, it was in a football stadium, which I don't think I've been to a conference in a stadium before. It was like the brand new stadium that the Minnesota Vikings
How many people were there?
Now, I estimate there were about 5,000. That's what I heard, about 5,000 people there, maybe 6, maybe 7. And of course, stadium holds like 70, right? So it felt kind of empty at times, right? And we had the run of the stadium. So there was a main stage that was kind of down on the field level with plenty of seats for people to fill in, maybe a couple thousand on the floor. And then lots of people sat up in the bleachers wherever they wanted.
It's a good thing he made 90 million in a weekend, because he was probably out of pocket for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he spent a lot of money on that. I think he said somewhere, you know, millions of dollars, whatever it was. And they had tons and tons of speakers. And, you know, there were a few on the main stage, some celebrity speakers like Spike Lee and Eva Longoria and, you know, Kevin Rose, and Snoop Dogg was like the closing on the last day. And there were some other great ones. Right. But then there were like side stages, like inside the stadium, like they were hard to find because you had to like walk the concourse. And in some respects, that was a little annoying because it was like, okay, it takes so long to walk to these side stages. And most of them had very limited seating. They only had seating for maybe like 400 or something or less. And so if you didn't get there early, you weren't getting a seat. The flip side of that was there were so many cool things to see as you were walking around the concourse. There were all these little like, you know, Series 2 figurines and posters, and there were booths for like collectibles and different projects. There were a few other projects that had booths there, like World of Women and Creature World. Danny Cole was there, you know, signing autographs and things like that. Quarter Machine had something going on where you could like enter something and win an NFT or whatever. So there were a lot of cool things to see. And the other benefit was, and I think he said this, but I don't think people really got it. and I've been like saying this for many years, like the big value you get from going to conferences is not in what you learn from speakers, it's the people that you meet, right? Those are the people, that's what you're really going to remember. And I think he wanted to really foster a lot of those meetups and connections. So as you're walking around, you just can't help like running into people that you've talked to on Discord or, Twitter or social media or whatever, or I've met in the past at other events or just meeting new people. So it was just a really great, event that, some of the speakers, some of the panels were not that exciting. Some of the speakers were really good. Jesse Itzler did a talk on one of the side stages, and that was a highlight for me. He was incredible. Really, really good. But, a lot of the value was just in meeting so many great people there. And everybody was just, because they're in the Veefriends community, what he's created around, things like gratitude and curiosity and kindness. Everybody there he attracts a lot of nice people who want to help other people, which is the people I want to be around, which is why I loved being, in that stadium with them.
That one of the things that, really, really struck me about being a Series 2 Veefriends holder is meeting just a lot of people in Twitter spaces. And, one of the things that makes this community different, to your point, Andy, is it's a very business entrepreneurial minded community. And honestly, if you're paying $1,000, $2,000 for an NFT, like you probably have some change to play with. So these are the type of people that you really want to be connecting with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Although it's interesting, it's all walks of life in there. I mean, people who are, entrepreneurs like me who have been investing and like had money to invest in a few Veefriends to, bartenders who are just like, man, I love Gary Vee and I'm going to scrap and put in $2,000 to get half an ETH and buy, this one Veefriend at auction, or maybe they're doing that now with Series 2, whatever it may be. It's really like a wide, but I would say in general, he does attract, of course, a lot of like entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial minded people who are thinking about, okay, if I'm not running a business already, like how do I figure that out to build my own business, build my own brand, do stuff on social media, stuff like that.
Was the VeeCon conference just like all NFTs all the time, or were they covering different topics? Like, did you have to speak the language to be there?
Yeah. I was wondering, like these Jesse Itzlers, Jim Quick, like those big speakers that were there, were they talking about this NFT movement or were they doing their thing?
So that's a great question. And I remember early on, he promised I think he said it wouldn't just be about NFTs. It would be about entertainment and art and pop culture and entrepreneurship. I would say that close to 90% of the content was about NFTs and the conversations were about NFTs. Jesse Itzler was more about being an entrepreneur and living your best life. And I loved his talk, but it was definitely an anomaly, I think unique in that most sessions were NFT related. All the main stage stuff was about NFTs, but that's okay. You got different perspectives. You had celebrities. Seth Green was one of my favorites, talking about what he's been doing in the NFT space. And of course, he had an ape and he just created like a animated, like a TV show around it. And then he lost his ape. It got stolen. So like he talked about that and it was just really, really interesting. And I don't know if he got it back. I got to look that up, but some good conversations, but it really was very, very NFT centric for sure. If like your friend just brought you and you didn't know anything about NFTs, you were like getting up to speed quick because that's all anybody was talking about.
Just curious, was there any sort of an opportunity with 5,000 people there to invest in something?
I don't well, other than collectibles, there were booths, selling like baseball cards and stuff like that. But I don't think there was an opportunity to buy. I mean, he certainly wasn't selling anything.
But there was no because you're at VeeCon, you have access.
There were a couple things that he announced there. So number one was he created a new character called something Python, I forget. But anyway, everybody at VeeCon had a chance to get a share of that. He was breaking it up into shares using this platform called Rally. And so I think I got 5 shares of that. And then the other one was he announced that the VeeCon ticket at the end, he was doing a collaboration with Snoop Dogg on an NFT project, and then it would be airdropped sometime late summer, early fall to every VeeCon ticket NFT holder. And so that was really fascinating because the VeeCon ticket was its separate NFT and the floor price on that had fallen to like 0.15 or something by the time of the conference. And, I think people just figured like, oh, maybe this is some long-term collectible, but it'll probably keep going down. And then he announced that and it just went nuts. Like the floor was going up and, the volume on it was just moving like crazy. So I would imagine a lot of people there were trying to buy on their phone. And then obviously like people tweeted it and lots of other people were jumping in. And it was interesting because I think the floor on that went as high as like 0.8. and then it started dropping back down. And now as you and I are recording this morning, I looked, it was like 0.28. So it could be a great opportunity especially if you love Snoop Dogg and Gary Vee and you think they're going to create something cool. I have no clue, not financial advice, but it's a reason for me to hold on to my VeeCon NFT tickets, right? Because now I'm going to get airdrop something for it. So he made a few announcements, and that's one that you could potentially go invest in something based on that.
Sorry about that. If I go buy a VeeCon ticket, because VeeCon's over,
yep.
2 questions. Is that ticket good for the next VeeCon?
No. So the ticket is only the 2022 VeeCon NFT ticket. So it's kind of like a collectible, like having
so
that
it's a collectible,
stub.
maybe
but
get
it
involved.
Is, but if you hold it in your wallet, when they do drop the Snoop Dogg collab, you're going to get that. Whoever has it in their wallet is going to get, the Snoop Dogg collab.
Yeah. It's like a little bag of weed or something like that. I'll show up in the mail.
Something like, it was really interesting. I'm not a hip hop fan. So I haven't really followed Snoop Dogg closely over the years, obviously familiar with who he is and his music. He had his son and his business partner with him. And it was obvious that they had been very thoughtful about getting into NFTs and watching the whole space and investing. And you could tell they were talking every day about this. And he talked about basically, he had just, I guess he lost the masters to his music, but he just got them back and he bought Death Row Records, the record label that he's was famously on. And he's planning on transforming the whole label and making it more family friendly, I think, which I don't know how that goes with Death Row, but also that they were going to be using NFTs to basically have, musicians own their music and let fans also take ownership. And he seemed very dedicated to like getting fans involved and giving them value. So it seemed like he's being very thoughtful about, the approach they're taking, and they could be doing some really cool things in the music industry.
Yeah, the music industry is something I'm hearing a lot of hype about in the NFT game, but it just feels like the game hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
And Andy, I really appreciate you hopping on the show here, sharing your wisdom. The show is My NFT Journey. The host, you've been listening to him right here, right now, is Andy Storch. Andy, where can we find you if we want to know more about what's happening with NFTs?
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Always fun chatting with you. And you mentioned the podcast, My NFT Journey. My website for that is andystorch.com/NFT. And I'm active on Twitter. My handle there is Andy Storch. I'm fully doxed using my regular name on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I've got a book called Own Your Career, Own Your Life, if anybody's looking for some career development. And I'm all over the place. So just reach out and say hi.
Yeah, glad to connect to Andy. And thanks for dropping some V facts on us. Appreciate you.
Love it. Thanks for having me.